fuck is this?
I'm uncomfortable. No, it's the perfect amount of buttons. It's one button. If I go up one button, then I look like a weirdo.
Stand a chance.
Nah, my collar can fuck off. Hello, folks, and welcome to another Spitfire episode of Done Better, where I, your host, Shitty Morrissey from The Smiths, fix a flawed film at its base, the script. I forced myself to pick only 3 things to fix and hope the end result is better than what we forced ourselves to consume. So it's basically like picking 3 items off the Dollar Cravings menu at Taco Bell. To start, I just want you all to know that I survived this episode, so don't fear too horribly for my safety. Actually, if you recall a previous episode, which you should, because you obviously watched them all, I may have even hinted this review was coming. It's like doing a Han Solo prequel. We know he falls in love with a space princess as a kid and then gets stabbed. How much peril and change can you put him through knowing all that important stuff happens later? What? They're gonna do a Han Solo prequel? Jesus. Yeah, we'll get to that, I guess. That's right, it's Solo, a Done Better story. So where to begin? Should I start with, I actually don't have to fix a lot of this movie. You may have 2 reactions to that. Either fuck you, it does have a lot to fix, or fuck you, it doesn't need to be fixed. Those aren't my words, those are yours, Internet. Your mother needs to wash your mouth out with soap. I actually enjoyed Solo for what it was, and what it was another cog in a cash wheel, but sometimes cogs can be fun to watch. In fact, unlike most films in this series, I can actually say this film ended up doing several smart things with its storytelling. It added interesting characters to put in peril since you already knew Solo would survive. It embraced the idea and tone of a space western with relative ease, and it stayed true to it. Mostly. More on that later. And it contained well-paced action scenes that felt like they had some actual weight and relevance behind them, which is hard to do these days, apparently. So why the fuck are you even here then, Shitty Morrissey? You may be asking. Well, much like an off-brand coffee, Solo was good until the last drop. And that it's still a mean cup of joe, but there's some dregs in the bottom. That analogy didn't work? Fine, they shit the bed in the 3rd act.
If that case is empty, then the real coaxium
leaves here with one of us.
Backhand, what are you doing?
I have a good feeling about this. Here's what we fix. Number 1, chewing up the screen. Solo has a bit too many nods and winks at the camera, and it made me just as uncomfortable as all the women Han has apparently mashed his face onto in all the small rooms of the Falcon. There were just too many nods to the rest of those damn Star Wars stories. Many of these nods of which filled us in on unnecessary information that neither informed on the story, nor made the current film we were watching any stronger. Number 2, bend it like Beckett. Beckett's role in the 3rd act ends up causing the most problems in this film. In fact, changing a few character interactions and motivations surrounding him pretty easily solves a lot of the 3rd act faults and gives Han a stronger arc. Number 3, mauled to death. I feel like I don't really have to explain this one that much, but I'll try when we get to it. In as few words as I can, I'll sum up Solo before we begin. An orphan boy who dreams of being a pilot is separated from his true love and is forced to fight in an intergalactic war before seizing the opportunity to start a new life with a misfit band of rogues, working as a smuggler for a man with a vision. After a few daring heists, a few moments of liberation, a high-speed chase, several betrayals, discovering a plucky band of rebels who need his help, and then finally losing his girlfriend to a godlike figure who has come back from the dead and who wields a godlike power and a laser sword, Solo realizes the true nature of himself. He is in fact not a rogue of one, but a lovable scamp with a heart of gold. A heart that occasionally relishes in murder. Also, he meets a giant dog along the way. By the way, I really hope all the Star Wars stories from now on somehow refer to or use the idea of one, or solo, or single in their title. Example, the next one should be Obi-Wan, a Star Wars story. Fucking joke. Ah, clever.
Feed him to the beast.
The beast? Wait, there's a beast? Hold on.
Move it.
Why?
Quiet. Don't care. Haven't fed him in 3 days.
Should be fun.
killed him too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get it, all right? I know, I get it. It's Star Wars. You just can't not remind people of that. People like things. Sometimes you like showing them those things again because you know you can get an audience to react to something like Pavlov's dog when watching Chewbacca and Han Solo sit down in the Millennium Falcon for the first time. Generally, what I found most troubling was that Solo was caught up in answering questions that we didn't need answers to. Where he got his name, where his blaster came from, where the damn dice come into play, why he calls Chewbacca Chewie, why he shoots first. Speaking of blaster, I hardly knew her. Speaking of blaster, why is that sentimental? Is it because it's the gun he killed his first human man with? Here's another thing. Those characters should not be aware of how big of a deal it is. Yes, on some level, it's the music, the shots, the big dopey grin on Alden Ehrenreich's face that really sells the "this is a big deal, guys" moments. But that starts in the script. I would not doubt the scene of Han and Chewie flying together for the first time in the Falcon looked like this in the script. Kira, Chewie, get in. I'll help Lando. Kira exits. The music swells. There is an electricity in the air. Chewie turns knowingly to Han. Han turns to him. This is it. This is the moment. The beginning of the galaxy's greatest friendship. Chewie. Han smirks. The music continues to swell, as well as does the penis in Han Solo's pants. He knows Chewie can sense it. Chewie doesn't want it quite yet, but he's aware of its presence. A sort of Kashyyyking suspicion, if you will. Han, I have a good feeling about this. Anyway, there are a few too many examples of this throughout the film. Oh, Lando's capes, the reoccurring dialogue from previous films. So the issue with this isn't that nostalgia is fun. It's that the only reason these things are so emphasized is for us, not for the characters. Han and Chewie don't know that this is the start of the galaxy's greatest friendship. They're just flying a ship and thinking about banging each other. When you grind your movie to a halt to tell the audience that they should acknowledge something, you're using the filmic medium poorly. You should feel those moments with the characters, not outside of them, or inside of them. Mainly I do a visual thing now where up in this corner will be a little bug that says what section we're on. Beckett's odd motivations and flighty betrayals are part of what makes the third act of Solo feel so sluggish and unengaging to me. So think about it this way. Beckett's a guy with a team who owes the bad guy, and he knows not to cross the bad guy. They even go through a whole adventure to appease that bad guy. But in the end, Beckett knows Han is gonna betray the bad guy because Han is a hero at heart. So Beckett double crosses Han because he knows the bad guy will stop at nothing to kill them all if he isn't appeased. And yet, Han surprises them all. So Beckett kills just the guards and leaves it up to chance as to who survives the fight with the bad guy, as he takes the loot for himself, knowing that will actually put him at odds with whoever survives anyway. Although I guess he'd probably prefer Han win, who ends up killing him. That kind of feels more like those last moments happen more for the script than happening based on character. This movie needed the whole student becomes the master, needed that whole double-crossed heist feel, but it kind of ruined its characters to contrive it all in there. It's unnecessary genre weight that the movie didn't need, and it would have been interesting without it. Actually, this is the blaster that fucking selfish asshole Beckett gave me that I then used to kill him eventually. I suppose I'll strive to live a life more akin to his, despite the end he met. By my hand. Character-wise, Han's gotta idolize Beckett, if that's who he's gonna base his whole lifestyle after. But by killing Beckett, he's recognizing the fault in his stars. Or why does Han go on being an isolationist space rogue if he realizes that leads to betrayal and death? Beckett should have lived. He should have beat Han. It should have been like the opening of Last Crusade. Han's bested by a better rogue, so that compels him to become less attached, more scoundrelly, and less heroic, because that's what it took to beat him. Basically, these movies should be about him not being a hero, being dissuaded from it. Beckett can be all, "You got beat, kid, accept it." Then BAM! Right in the Han gut. But you don't gotta like it. Have your big furry dog back and keep a few of these vials, but don't expect to see me again. That Woody Harrelson impression's terrible. Han limps back from his encounter with Beckett, and the rebels are upset that he didn't fully succeed. Well, fuck you. I tried, and all I got out of it was shot. But at least I got. And in the distance, Han's love takes off in her spaceship. Damn, Chewie. We got played out. So he's a disappointment, a failure, wounded physically and pride-wise, and stranded. Then you see him in that gambler's den again, He's got a little rougher appeal to him. You can tell he's learned a lesson, maybe not a good one, but he's definitely wiser now, and he's learned to look out for number one, just like Beckett did. Chewie. That would have been great. This also fixes the problem in A New Hope by having him do the right thing here and not kill Beckett. Him doing the right thing in A New Hope is actually less surprising if you see Han get bested by a more cunning and ruthless scoundrel because he's trying to do the right thing. And you'll understand how Han proceeds in a more scoundrelly way afterwards to compensate. And by A New Hope, he returns to heroics, bringing him back to the scoundrel with a heart of gold we saw at the beginning of this film. If you make him a hero in the prequel, it's not going to be a surprise when he turns out to be a hero in A New Hope.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
Finally, number 3, mauled to death. How do I best explain my problem with this guy? You know what? Here, let's take the summary I did earlier and adjust it to show you just how much of a space western this film really is, and why Maul is very out of place. An orphan boy in the Old West who dreams of being a famous gunslinger is separated from his true love and is forced to fight in the Civil War before seizing the opportunity to escape and start a new life with a misfit band of Western rogues, working as smugglers and thieves for a powerful outlaw. After a few daring bank heists, liberating a mining facility operated by slaves, enduring a high-speed chase through Devil's Canyon, dealing with several betrayals, discovering a plucky band of natives who need his help, and then finally losing his girlfriend to a ninja samurai who has come back from the dead and who wields a godlike power and a mystical sword, Solo realizes the true nature of himself. He's in fact not a rogue one, but a lovable scamp with a heart of gold. A heart that occasionally relishes in murder. Also, he befriends a big bear along the way. What part in that Western allegory didn't quite fit? Was it the ninja samurai Jesus? You think it was that bit? Because I do. Tone. Tone is so big. And Solo did a great job of finally breaking away from the Force side of Star Wars to try and tell a fun, new story in that universe. Then, in the end, they f***ed it up! The moment that they wrote, "The shadowy figure stands, revealing his robotic legs and true identity, Maul." The audience gasps. Literally replace Maul with anyone. Hell, even Jabba the Hutt would have worked. Sure, giant slug, but that fits the tone this movie took. You guys, you've got to let him go. This is the worst kind of fan service. It's time on screen spent on a fixture that means something only to the audience. There is no character alive or in this film who cares about Darth Maul. It actually wasn't cool that he showed up. I wish I could have shoved every single one of those gasps in my theater back down everyone's throats. And I imagine that would have looked a bit like this. Well, there it is, folks. Solo, done better. You know, that actually wasn't as painful as it could have been. But before we go, there's always our bits and pieces section. Small things I could have done to make Solo more solid. Where was C-3PO in this picture? Where's my nostalgia, damn it?
Oh my!
Same note that I had for Rogue One, by the way. Was Lando f***ing that robot?
It's all right. Save energy. I'm gonna get you out of here. All right?
Damn it.
Literally anything would have been better than Maul in that projection.
I regret to inform you that Dryden Voss is dead. Murdered by the thief he hired to steal the coaxium shipment, his friend, Tobias Beckett.
Oh no.
Beckett took it, slaughtered the others. I alone survived.
Feeling genuinely upset.
I wasn't there. But if I had been, perhaps I could have saved him.
You were there with somebody else. Where's he gone?
So you guys get the feeling that they're making these Star Wars prequels to actually fix like big plot holes in the other films? Like in Rogue One, it was about fixing the plot hole about why the Death Star was destroyed so easily, and then this one felt like they were actually just fixing the plot hole about parsecs accidentally being called time instead of distance in A New Hope? Are we gonna get a Sheev Star Wars story where we get to watch young Palpatine wine and dine Shmi Skywalker and then hint that she was actually lying about how Anakin just happened to pop out of her belly one day? Sheev and Shmi, a Star Wars story? Or maybe Ewok, a Star Wars story, showing how the Ewoks, happen to have a perfect dress for Leia to wear in Return of the Jedi? Personally, I'm still waiting for Crumb, a Star Wars story. I want to know how he got hooked up with Jabba the Hutt and how he became his little bitch.